of people who get it wrong. So those people who are outside also kindly walk in. If you are outside, walk in. Thank you. So the question is, the age of criminal responsibility in Kenya, according to the Children's Act, is 8 years old. The age responsibility of children, the age criminal responsibility of children is 8 years old, according to the Children's Act. I'm seeing people who are getting it wrong. Okay, so if you are seated, clap your hands and clap harder for the people who are standing. If you are seated, I'm seeing the people who are, yeah. Let's sit down and do the last two questions. Let's have our seats. So also a reminder, we are still doing the Children Justice Summit, and that's our hashtag. And you can always take a selfie with this or a photo, and then have it and then post it with our tags. So then last question before we invite the other person, the next panels. The words conviction, imprisoned, and sentence should also be used for children, are also used for children. The words conviction, imprisoned, and sentence are also used for children, in relation to children. Yeah, okay, everyone has, I'm assuming everyone has gotten it right. As Justice said earlier on, we refer to children as subjects. So let's clap for ourselves before we start the next session. So the next session will be moderated by, the next session is the opportunities in the sectors available for students. And to help us in the moderation, we'll have Dr. Jennifer Gitahi kindly come to the front, and she'll be assisted by Thomas Joseph from KSL. Kindly come to the front. Thank you. You can.
All protocols observed. Good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. It's been a pleasant time, and I know we are all benefiting from this discussion, aren't you? Tuko pamoja? I hope you are. So this next segment is going to be a vivifying one. It's going to be an enlightening one. We've had various engagements, and let me just start by introducing myself. I think that it's courtesy for me to introduce myself first. My name is Thomas Joseph Enosairo, as the MC introduced me. I'm from the Kenya School of Law, and I'm a Secretary General for the Student Governing Council. So student leaders, I've seen you. I've seen some from Kisii. It's good to note your presence as well here today. More to that, I'm an alumnus of the best university north of the Limpopo, south of the Sahara. I bet you guys know that university. Yes? It's the University of Nairobi. Yes, it is. I know you're laughing because you're agreeing with me, yes? Yes. Matter of fact, we only came second once because there's no one at the top. So we are second to none. Okay, that's on a lighter note. So I agree that the universities even present here are best in their own respect. Cindy, what's the MKU? Wasewakisi, I see Teddy is over there. You're also best in your own respect. So having said that, we're going to proceed. As you've seen, the theme for this panel session, the third panel session, it's going to be a session where we've learned from yesterday. We've looked at the legal framework for the child justice system. We've looked at the justice actors, the actors involved, all the people that are involved in this process of a child from the moment they're in contact with the law or in conflict to the law. And we appreciate that. Sindio? We've seen various offices, we've seen the ministry, we've seen the judiciary, we've seen various offices involved. Now, it comes to the point where us as students, because hapa, mimi na represent students. As a student, I want to understand what opportunities are there for me in this sector. Sindio? Now we want to fine-tune our discussion to look at the opportunities that are present for us as students in this engagement. So the panel that is composed today are just going to help us understand, or to help us just understand what we're going to be able to do or to align ourselves to, be it academia, be it in practice, be it even in partnerships and in civil society engagement. So they just want to help us understand. And also, I call you to be opening up your mind. And as the earlier speaker in the beginning said, I think that is Madam Patterson, she said, challenge your mind. So how many are ready to challenge your mind today? It's going to be an engaging one, a conversation where your input is very much welcomed because it's a conversation. You are the VIPs. You're the very most VVIP, matter of fact, and your remarks will be most welcome. So we're going to start off. Perhaps let me introduce my moderator as well. I'll be moderating with her, and she's Daktari Karibu Sana.
Good afternoon. I think Thomas Joseph has done a very good introduction. I think all the students now are attentive. They're all looking at us. It is a good way to begin our panel session with a very young mind. So I'm Dr. Jennifer Gitahi. I'm a lecturer at Strathmore Law School. I've been here from the beginning, really. And it's a pleasure to have all of you here in Strathmore University. It's a pleasure to host the first Child Justice Summit in our university, and I also welcome you. Now, we'll go straight into the panel session. I think Thomas Joseph has also made it clear that even though, of course, the summit has been revolving around the students, this is the panel session which they become even more central. So it's about you, it's about opportunities that are available for you currently as students, but also opportunities are available for you in the future as a way to incentivize you to do children and the law, if you're doing it, to continue doing it well and to pass, of course. So what I'll do, I'll begin by calling our panel members to come up to the podium. We have a good number of them. I understand that they're all present. I think we'll be directed as to the ones who are available virtually and those who are currently here in the auditorium. So perhaps I could begin. We have four thematic areas. Maybe I can actually explain the modality we shall use, but I could do that perhaps after we invite our guest speakers to the podium. So we'll start with Honorable Dr. Alice Macharia, who I think might be joining us virtually. We'll wait for directions from the organizers. Dr. Karabo Oza from the University of Pretoria, who probably also is joining us virtually. Honorable Mr. Justice Laibuta, who I know was in communication with us a few minutes ago. Then we'll have the NCAJ Special Task Force on Children Matters Legal Advisor, Juliet Gashanja. Welcome. We have Caroline Mtai from the US Department of Justice, the legal advisor to Kenya. Please come up. Then we also have Joy Katunge, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya from the Kenya Alliance for the Advancement of Children's Rights. Karibuni sana, karibu sana. Sorry? I don't know where the others are. Yeah, which one? So we have Caroline Mtai present. Joy Katunge, karibu sana. Lawrence Okoth, who was with us here, is also welcome to this panel. So we'll hear a bit more about cybercrimes and the work that he does and what opportunities he has in his department and his work area that are available for students. Karibu sana. Elizabeth Njambi from Wakilisha. Welcome on board. Samuel Munyuin from the African Institute for Child Studies. Samuel, coming up. Jennifer Kabiri from Mtoto News. Eunice Kilundo from the Child Fund. Welcome. And then we have Patrick Washira from the African Council on Child Justice. Karibu. I think you can have a seat here. Karibuni sana. We are waiting for an indication regarding the speakers who will join us virtually. It's coming up soon. But do we have, okay, we have that information. So we have a good number of people joining us online. We have Honorable Dr. Alice Macharia join us online. Honorable Mr. Justice Laibuta will also join us online. We have Juliet Gashanja also online. Joy Katunge will also be with us online. And Eunice Kilundo will also be with us online. I think we have the rest of the panel here. So as you note, we have a big panel, which we're very happy to have. 12 speakers. We're very happy to have you here. So what we think could be a good way of taking this forward and so as to make it very interactive, because the main aim is to have a conversation between the students and yourselves. So what we're going to do is to address some questions that already have come to us in advance, and we'll have them addressed by you in clusters. So we have an academic group, we have the ones in practice, we have training, and we have partnerships. Once we do that, and then we'll open up to a spontaneous Q&A, and you can feel very free also to add whatever you'd like to add. But perhaps before we get into the questions, we would like you to briefly introduce yourself, very briefly, just where you're from and what you do, and then we can direct the questions to you. Karibuni.
Good afternoon. Tumekunywa chai. Good afternoon. Good to hear you. Yeah, I'm Patrick Washira. I work for an organization called CHEFA. CHEFA, we are working within the juvenile justice for the last 15 years. We are in statutory institutions, remand homes, rehabilitation schools, both institutions. Basically, there we are offering psychosocial support and reintegration services to children. We also have a pilot project. We call it pilot because it is now that we have begun that is related to diversion and restorative justice. We are working closely with the police, the children's court, and also the prosecution. So for today, though it was written as I'm coming from the African Council on Child Justice, is basically is a platform or a network that we have created recently. And I would love to share that later on how probably the students could and the universities could engage with that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So my introduction will be much shorter because you've heard a lot about US Department of Justice. From Tomika Patterson, I currently work with her as a Kenyan legal advisor. I know the agenda says legal advisor to Kenya, it's a bit, it's been, the Kenya has been taken to the last part of that sentence. So I'm a Kenyan legal advisor, working with the resident legal advisors at US Department of Justice. Our office is called Office of Overseas Prosecutorial Development, Assistance and Training. And we have several programs. Our biggest and I think favorite, that the one Kenyans know a lot more about, is the office that Tomika currently heads, and that's the one dealing with rule of law and juvenile justice. But previously I served as a prosecutor, and you know, when you get into the child justice sector and you are passionate about staying in it, you just keep moving around the same circle. So all the people that have been on these panels before have been my colleagues previously. I worked very closely with Linda Ndambiri, who was here as when I was in charge of prosecution at Milimani Children's Court. Honorable Justice Gitari was my chief magistrate back then. Patrick, Martin there, all these people we've worked with in different places, and we still continue to work with together. So I'm very happy to be here and very excited to interact with you.
All protocols observed. Good afternoon. Good afternoon again. My name is Elizabeth Jambi. I'm the founder and CEO of Wakilisha Initiative. This is a nonprofit organization that I founded in my last year of university. So if you're in your last year of university and you're feeling challenged, please make sure you do something about whatever is pushing your passion. So what Wakilisha does is we promote access to justice for children in conflict with the law. We're specifically concerned with children who have been accused of committing crime, and we do that in 3 ways. So the first one is access to legal representation. Most of you have heard that most of these children don't have access to legal representation. In fact, the statistic is 80% of children in conflict with the law lack access to legal representation. So that's our main arm. Then the second one is where we offer psychosocial support through mentorship and talent development. And the third one is public awareness and advocacy. If you like listening to podcasts and if you want to learn more about children in conflict with the law, please check out the Wakilisha podcast. I'll say a bit more later about the opportunities that are there for you as students, but that's a brief on what Wakilisha does. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Detective Lawrence Okoth. I'm currently assigned at the DCI Anti-Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit, a unit that is charged with investigating crimes against children in Kenya, including child trafficking. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Samuel Munyuwing, that's not a nickname, it's my real name. I work with the African Institute for Children's Studies, actually privileged to be among the founder members. We are about 11 years old. It's a Pan-African knowledge management organization looking at also building capacity of those who support children. When we started in 2009, it was because there was a gap in just being able to pull together experts around children. And you know, when you're talking about children, it reminds me of this advert that was said, you know, a job was available for someone who needs to be a good chef. Really from a Pan-African point where we think we should have matured enough to have people whose evidence can be trusted. I'm talking about research. I'm talking about how you inform policy. And so this is a space that we have We have what we call associates, experts from academia and from practice, because often we don't talk to each other. And I think right here, I've had some students who come to us as interns. We're already collaborating in some research work with some of your centers here. We've done some work with Daystar University. We've held 2 international conferences, 2016, 2018. The 2016 one was on access to justice, actually looking at the best interest of the children. So, and out of that, we've also collaborated quite a lot with the National Council for Administration of Justice. And I think there's a lot of more opportunity we can do in terms of, the areas I've mentioned. And maybe as we continue speaking, I'll be able to bring out some of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. We shall request the speakers who are online to introduce themselves when they're responding to the questions, just for the sake of getting on with the program, and also just to avoid the technical glitches that you always have with online connections. So we'll go right ahead now to the questions that we want to address to the panel. I'll have Thomas Joseph begin.
All right. So for those that are viewing online, just a request, and also those that are joining us physically, we have the hashtags. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter. Let's keep the conversation going on our social media platforms. There's hashtag NCAJ at 10. And then there's hashtag Child Justice KE, hashtag Child Justice Summit. And then you can also tag at Strathmore Law, at NCAJ _KE, at Child Fund. So let's keep the conversation going on. Let your viewers, let the people who follow you on your various social media platforms know what's going on. All right. So having said that, we want to quickly move forward to the first part of our discussion. We want to understand the opportunities in the sector available to students, particularly in academia. We know the various programs that can be undertaken within the purview of this sector that we're talking about today. And from the engagements we had yesterday, we just want to understand, and we're going to invite our first panel speaker who will guide us on the same, as to understanding. She's called Honorable Dr. Alice Macharia. She'll be speaking on Commonwealth scholarships. And since she's an alumna, she'll just be giving us clarity into the same. I know a lot of students here are wondering, what programs could I basically look into as a means of me aligning myself in this sector? So, Dr. Alice Macharia, the first question goes to you. What programs can I as a student do or engage or study to align myself towards this sector? Be it LLM, master's programs. And additionally, being an alumnus of the Commonwealth scholarships, what is the process for application of Commonwealth scholarships? And what qualifications are required? Dr. If you're joining us online, perhaps you can just say hi to us, introduce yourself, and react to those very questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. You can hear me, I'm sure. Yes? You can hear me. Hello? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Dr. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted the assurance. So yes, as you've heard, my name is Alice Macharia. I'm an alumni of Commonwealth Scholarship. And just to introduce myself, I'm a magistrate. I like referring to myself as a children's court magistrate. But for the time being, I'm seconded to Judicial Training Institute, and my core mandate is to formulate trainings for judges and magistrates. That is what I'm doing currently. You know, the way the lawyers have continuous legal education, even judges and magistrates, they need training every now and then in terms of, you know, the emerging challenges, the emerging issues. So we come up with courses geared towards enlightening them on how to go about those challenges. We look for experts across the board. They may come from the judiciary in terms of, magistrates with expertise in that area, or even academia. Anybody who is an expert, we go for them and we invite them to train our judges and magistrates. Let me say I have a long history in the criminal justice system. I've worked with the police, I've worked with the probation, I've worked in the Ministry of Home Affairs as the legal officer for the ministry. Let me underscore that prison was one of the ministries under the Home Affairs. But then I was in charge of parliamentary questions, and then from there I went to the state law. I was a state counsel, seconded to that ministry. And then after that is when now I went to the judiciary. So I'll give you a bit more on that, but for now, I just want to tell you about the Commonwealth Scholarship. And I don't want to tell you what you can easily get from the Google. If you Google Commonwealth Scholarship, you will see all that pertains to, application and getting an enrollment and all that. What I want to tell you is that you should take time to think through whether you want to further your studies to start with. Once you get your LLB, you are good to go. It's not even mandatory to go to the Kenya School of Law, but I would advise you to go, because even when you go out and come back, you will be required to have the qualifications. Once you get LLB, you are a lawyer, but you need to become an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. This you can only do by complying with the requirements of the Kenya School of Law. Once you have decided that, you want to pursue further studies, and I'm saying you because parents may have a tendency of telling you what to pursue, mostly what they wanted to be, like maybe your dad wanted to be a lawyer, but he didn't make it. So we have a tendency as parents to push our children to the angle that we think they should have pursued. In other words, to fulfill our dreams, which we ourselves may not have been able to pursue. So make sure that what you are pursuing is coming from you. It's not from anybody else. The reason why I'm underscoring this is because unless it's coming from within you, you will not be able to make it. Research is tedious. I cannot cheat you, and I don't want to make it sound like it's easy. I see Ruth Juliet is here. She can tell you research is very, very hard. After that, now you want to go for your master's. Let me assume now after your LLB, you want to go for your master's. You want to go for your PhD. You want to go for your postdoc. The sky is the limit. But you need to establish what motivates you, which is it that you can do to pursue that goal. What motivates you? Where does it come from? Sit alone by yourself and find the root of that desire to pursue that particular course. Because without it, again, I tell you, you will lose interest along the way and you will be very sad because you will have wasted your time. Then after that now, where do you want to pursue it? Do you want to do it in Kenya? Do you want to do it regionally? Or do you want to go to, international? Do you want to go to, like for me, I went to King's College London. That's where I went for my PhD. Now I'll tell you the process of applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship, which is what I did, but it's not the only one. If you Google Chevening, you will see that they also offer very, very good, scholarships. But some of us may even want to go to Germany. There is a body called DAAD, D-A-A-D. If you Google that, also it will take you to other areas where you'll be able to pursue you'll get funding to go and pursue your studies. I'm mentioning those three because in Kenya, they're the most common ones. But then again, that is not the limit. There are other people who can give you the scholarship. What I want to tell you is, like in my case, actually, I just saw a link somewhere and I just decided to respond. And the reason why I decided to respond to that link is because by that time I was pursuing my PhD at Pretoria University. I was in my first year and I was paying for myself. I'm sure many of you may know Maria Ann Skeleton, professor. She was my supervisor. And when now I applied, I saw the link and I applied, and somehow it was very, very hard. Prepare yourself to fill a very long form. but make sure that, you feel it conclusively. Make sure you fill every field just to capitalize on the chances of getting it. Like me now, I was competing for the African PhD scholarship. When you take the Commonwealth scholarship or the Juvenile, it's only applicable in UK. So I had to sit with my supervisor, Anne-Maria Skeleton at Pretoria University, and she advised me because she knew the struggle of paying the flight, the accommodation. She advised me to pick the option, the King's College option, and she offered to be my supervisor, external supervisor, once I get there. Now, I know you are getting the steps. You have filled the forms. Now, what you need to do is to look for admission. If you're looking for the master's, you can just directly apply to the school. But if you're looking for a PhD scholarship, first and foremost, you must identify a supervisor. Your admission to a college, like now in my case, my admission to King's College, it was pegged on me having a supervisor within the college who was willing to take me through the steps, and also a second supervisor. I mentioned that Anne-Maria Skeleton had offered to be my external supervisor, but that was not applicable in my case at King's College London. There's the first supervisor and the second one had to be internal. So then I settled for two professors from King's College London, and it was very, very hard. Let me tell you where you start before you leave home, even before you get into that plane now you're going. The Commonwealth Scholarship is going to send you a document, DHL. In that document, a big, big envelope, and I hope you get it. If you aspire to go abroad to study, I hope you get that envelope addressed to you personally. Inside that envelope, there is an ATM card, there is a pen, and the other documents just guiding you. What I would advise you to do, once you get that ATM card, you cannot use it in Kenya. But once you get to the airport, you'll be able now to get the money from the ATM machine. The tendency to overuse that money is very high because the money is there, But I tell you, that money is meant to buy you warm clothing. That money is meant to pay your rent for 3 months. That money is meant to pay for your transport, which is very expensive, very expensive. It's meant to pay for your food and for your accommodation, which is again, very, very expensive. So don't be tempted to overuse that money. Let me say, you also have a chance to work, which you may view as an advantage. You have a chance to work as you go about your studies in some scenarios. But I would caution you, my dear students, I would caution you to think very carefully about the time limits that you have. For the master's, it's strictly 1 year. For the PhD, the most you can be there is 4 years. Once the time lapses, they don't pay anything for you. And the flight is booked back. They book your flight back. And let me just say that in the midst of your studies, halfway, they pay a flight for you to come home, to come back home and maybe visit. Now, once you are there, I would advise you to just concentrate on your studies. There is the cultural shock. That one I cannot even underestimate. It's called, those people are different in terms of their culture and our culture. You go there and you realize this is a new world. I need to adjust very, very fast because again, time is against you. The advantages that I saw for myself, going to study outside is because there is something they call, assessment, progress assessment. Under the progress assessment, which I'm not sure that we have here in Kenya, you as well as your supervisor, you are somehow monitored. Are you coping? Are you making progress? It's quarterly. And I can tell you, for PhD, you cannot move to the next stage until you have fulfilled the requirements of the first phase of assessment. For you to progress to the next one, maybe you are required to do the introductory chapter of your thesis. For me, I was required to finish my first chapter and give an outline of my second chapter. I had to do that. after like 6 months for me to proceed to the next phase. And I can assure you discontinuation is real. If you don't work hard, you will be discontinued. You will come back home without what you went for. Just remember to focus on what has taken you there. Don't forget that. If you take nothing from me, remember the timelines. The money is good because, you know, sometimes our 1 shilling is the equivalent of maybe 150 pounds in UK. So then the temptation to work as you study is very, very high. But if you concentrate on getting cash there, earning, working, you may not finish your studies on time. I'm not being negative. I'm telling you because I was there. And for me, what I did, fortunately for me, I was in employment. So my employer, the judiciary, was backing me up. So then I didn't find the need to work. But I can assure you, for my colleagues who maybe thought of working, it was a challenge. And finishing within the timelines was very, very hard. What are the benefits of going to UK to study? Let me talk about UK because I'm coming in the concept of I'm a Commonwealth alumni. First and foremost, I must repeat that the DARA quarterly progress report, they help so much. If you have issues with your supervisor, and issues do arise, you have a chance to report to the college that it's not working, you know, and somehow they'll get to find out, is it a ratio issue? What are you going through? Is it accommodation? What exactly are you going through? And let me mention just in passing because of time that Commonwealth Scholarship allocates somebody to you. They give you somebody to walk with you through the journey. That officer, you establish contact even before you leave the country. This is the go-between you and the Commonwealth. That person is so important. Keep their number very close because that is the go-to person. And I want to say also another advantage is that you get exposure. As much as you get the cultural shock, you get exposure to their way of life. You know, if you're lucky, you are even invited to experience what they call home living. You go to another family, a UK-based family, and stay with them for some time just to enjoy and to see, you know, the other side of life within a family setup. So you get the exposure proper. Then the medical cover for you when you are there, it's actually catered for by the Commonwealth. So you don't have to worry. What you must make sure is that before you leave the country, they make sure you have done a medical test. This medical test is meant to tell them that you are able, you know, to go through the rigors of the study there because it is very tough. So they want assurance. Do you have blood pressure? Do you have sugar? You know, there are diseases that can bar you from getting the Commonwealth, scholarship. And then once you come back, there is that ideal of, I studied at King's College London, you know, but not to say anything negative about our colleges, but there you must finish. Like I said, you must finish within the time given. So then for me, that was an advantage because, you know, here I have a job, I have a family. So then just to take me away to concentrate and to acquire that balance, you know, you get the discipline to balance different things. Yeah. That to me was very good. And then again, the overall benefit for me, you know, just to cut it short, but I hope we get more time and other times that I can tell you much more about my study. I came back and I feel that I am able to fill the gap that took me to UK. Let me tell you what took me to UK. I'm a magistrate. So I'm seated in court. I'm sentencing a mother. She's expecting. All, you know, kids are kids. She's on the dock before me and the baby is just suckling, you know. The mother. Let me give you my example. We are actually, to say the truth, we are 8 with the permission. I am this. When my mom was expecting my last born brother, and now me, I was the baby, and my brother, the one before me, the difference is very tiny. So she could have gone in Section 30, let me take you back a bit, situation whereby now my mom comes to prison with me. Now I'm the magistrate putting a woman like my mother, who is nursing or expecting, I'm the one putting her into custody. It used to disturb me. I used to have sleepless nights. I had to fill the gap. For me, being an academic, an academic, I thought the best thing I could do is to do research. If I did my LLM at UON, the university, that's where I did my LLM. I had done my LLB at Moi University. If you look at my data there, I looked into the rights of the child accompanying an incarcerated mother. At that time, I was just disturbed about the rights of these children because inherently I have an interest in children. Then I go to the judiciary, and now I'm the one putting the children I was researching about into custody. Let me tell you briefly what the title of my PhD was, and it read, Exploring How the Kenyan Court Could Balance the State's Duty to Punish Expectant Women and Mothers with Young Children with the obligation to protect the rights and interests of the child as enshrined under the UNCRC. That was the title of my thesis. That's what took me to King's, to fill that gap. I filled the gap. I did fill the gap satisfactorily. And that title now, that research, my PhD, has been published by Routledge Publishers in UK and US under the Taylor and Francis Publishing into a book. My book is titled Rights of the Child, Mothers and Sentencing, the Case of Kenya. So then, you can say now what the Commonwealth Scholarship did for me. It gave me a chance in the living me to fill a gap that was gaping. Just stop and think about what that baby has done. The mother has committed a crime. And allow me to say, my research established over 80% of the women in our custody, they were amiable. They could have been put on a non-custodial sentence. Let us start from there. But we come from a very punitive community, adversarial in nature. And a woman is taken to be somebody just humble and quiet. And so once you commit a crime, the tendency to punish a woman is normally higher, much higher than the way the man will be, the man will be punished. And again, there is that part of, when you hear of the court's discretion, that discretion does not require me as a magistrate to focus on the rights of the children accompanying incarcerated mother. My duty as a magistrate is to punish the accused before me. That was the study that took me there, right? And I can talk and talk, and I hope we get a chance because I would want you to read my book. It's all about children's rights. This book is now global. When I went to King's, I was filling a gap I was facing as a magistrate in the Kenyan court. But upon getting there, I discovered that even in UK, globally, there is no country that had in place measures to cushion the rights of the expectant woman, all the babies that accompany the mothers into prison, and most importantly, and very disturbingly for me, the children who are left outside by these mothers. I tell you, my research has established that many of these children end up in our streets. These are the children who are abused from every angle in the community. Why? Because they are left maybe with very elderly, grandmas and grandpas and aunties who are not even able to cater for them, so they run away. Others are taken advantage of. You all know what's happening in terms of, child abuse in Kenya. They are in marriages. I'm not going to get into that because of time. But what I want to challenge you, my dear students, is that no matter where you decide to branch off, let me just point out that I'm in the judiciary. You can choose to go to DPP. You've had the great work they are doing. You can choose to join the AG like I did. You can even choose to go to the bar, and become a counsel to represent a client. Some of my colleagues are in parliament, there are so many ways you can utilize your expertise as a legal, as a lawyer, you are a lawyer upon getting your LLB, but like I said, up the game so that you become an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Then you can join the bar. And you know what? If you are able to practice in Kenya, you will be able to practice in other Commonwealth countries. There are so many diverse fields that you can join when you are an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. The choice is yours. But like I said, take time, discover yourself. Don't waste your energy, don't scatter yourself. Like in UK, I found that they were encouraging you to build on the masters that you had done. You do, basically the research that you did for your masters. I'm even sure even now under the undergrad, you are doing a paper. Build on that paper. I would advise you to build on that paper to the master's research paper, and then you up it to a PhD level. If you are able to do that, then you get deeper knowledge in the field that you are pursuing. But I want to say, whichever field you decide to go, put yourself in the shoes of your client. You didn't do anything to God to be the magistrate or the lawyer, and this person didn't do that thing. So always put yourself in the shoes of that person that you are representing. Because of time, let me just conclude. And I just want to conclude with, with the quotes. I had a projection, but for some reason, Strathmore didn't give me the rights to project. So allow me to leave you with a quote because of time, but I have much, much more for the law students in Kenya. The quote reads, "There are no constraints on the human mind, no walls around the human spirit, no barriers to our progress, except those we ourselves erect." So then ask yourself, free yourself, free your mind, connect with the inner you, focus and pursue it. You are able to do it. I did it. I did it. You can do it. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Insightful message. I think the takeaway is passion, and then get out of your way, get out of your comfort zone, and seek out for these opportunities. She's mentioned a few, and I'm going to rehash them for the students that are here. There are scholarships for chevening, DAAD scholarships, Commonwealth scholarships, and there are also expos usually at Sarit Center. Seek out such opportunities for master's programs just to further your education, because knowledge is never wasted. Tuko pamoja? That's great. That's great stuff. All right. In a few, I just want to welcome Dr. Karabo Oza. She's joining us from the University of Pretoria, Center for Child Law. And Dr. Karabo Oza, my question to you this day is, what programs are there at the University of Pretoria that would be relevant to this discourse that we've been having from yesterday on child advocacy and child rights? And in a nutshell, just get us to understand such opportunities that are there for the students that are listening to you today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Let me first start by correcting that I don't have a doctorate yet. I don't want to misrepresent to you. I am the director of the Center for Child Law, which is based in the law faculty at the University of Pretoria. The Center for Child Law was established by somebody that the previous speaker mentioned, which is Professor Anne Skelton, who currently sits on the UNCRC committee. And I mentioned that because one of the important things about being in the field and starting your career is to find a mentor who will really believe in you. And I think that's what Dr. Alice was talking to. I'm also a beneficiary of Professor Anne Skelton, and so are many that even work here with us at the center. So when it comes to child law and specializing in children's rights, I think some of you might have already realized that it's always difficult to get into the legal practice of child law, right? So where do you find to have a center like our center, which is 100% donor funded? It's only recently that I've been appointed as a lecturer here at the University of Pretoria. So I'm doing the starting at legal deal with the university, then later move to the Center for Child Law. What we have in relation to promoting and actually making sure that aspirant lawyers will consider child law and children's rights as a special field that they can work in the future is that we have now an undergraduate elective course on child law, so that we start planting the seed. And then we also have the Masters in Child Law, which we're currently revamping because we want to make it more focused in a way that even non-South African students could benefit from it, because it has been quite narrowly tailored in that sense. We have education law, which is also an elective, which is very important. It focuses obviously from ECD, early childhood education, to even university education. So that's the other course that we have that kind of brings in the child law issues together. So that will be, that is what we have. We also at the University of Pretoria have something interesting, which is a short course that our center offers together with actually the Center for Human Rights that most of you might also be familiar with. And that short course is not only aimed at lawyers, but people who want to specialize in children's rights. And we run it every year for 1 week, where we have people from different countries on the continent coming and getting the basics of child law right from start, and we focus on regional and international legal frameworks, take you through even how do you litigate, how do you use other mechanisms, how to use advocacy, how to engage with the African Committee on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the UNCRC, and how can you become a child rights advocate broadly. I don't know whether that kind of answers the first part of your question, or whether I should go ahead and elaborate a bit more. I think you muted.
Sorry. Other questions that I posed, and we're going to interact with you at a later stage where we'll have spontaneous questions from the students that have gathered here. Also, for those that are viewing us online, kindly put your questions in the chat section, and they'll be reacted to by the panelists that are here with us. So having said that, I want us to quickly proceed to the next part that we have for discussion today. And I'm going to invite Dr. Jennifer to guide us through.
Thanks a lot. So we're now getting quickly into the areas of practice and training, and we have 5 guest speakers. So what we'd like to ask you is to broadly give us in summary, just again in a nutshell, what opportunities you see in the areas where you work that are available to students, of course, in the industry of, in which you're involved in, which is in child law. So probably we can begin with the 2 guests who we have in person, and then we can go to the ones who are with us online. And we could begin with Caroline Mtai from the US Department of Justice. She's the Kenyan legal advisor. Karibu sana.
Thank you once more for this opportunity. Maybe just as a background, I can tell you a bit more about my career and where I got to where I am right now. I started my legal career about in 2011. My math is a little bad. How many years ago is that? 10 years, yeah? Okay, so 10 years ago, I joined State Law Office as a litigation counsel. You can see straight away, I did not start my career in the field of child justice. So I was in civil litigation. And by the way, when you hear, many people will probably tell you they've been at State Law Office and when they started their career, and it's very good for teaching you how to really navigate the justice system. It does not matter where, because you get exposed really early to really complex matters that builds up your confidence from a very early stage. So I did 4 years at State Law Office. And then remember, we had constitutional reforms and change in our country. We transitioned from the 2010 constitution, the Independence Constitution, to the 2010 constitution, which radically changed our legal system in Kenya, establishing the independent office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I don't know how many of you know that ODPP used to be under the AG's office at the time. So Previously, prosecution used to be conducted by police prosecutors. And that's why you'll see people like Mary Wangele, my colleague who is here, are among the very first lawyers who actually conducted prosecution involving children. That used to be handled by police back in the day. So lawyers, prosecutors handling children's matters were still very few by the time when I joined the office of the DPP in 2014. And my first deployment after handling civil litigation and environment and land matters, my first assignment was the Children's Court, which was completely different for me. But the reason why I say I wanted you to know the background, that I had no prior experience handling children's matters up to the point when I joined the ODPP, is because I want you to know that we only need to be exposed to children's matters. If you are unaware of what's happening in the world involving children, you will not be sensitive to the issues that children encounter in whatever area you're thinking about. So once I got exposed to that area, I was very fortunate that during my entire career, even at state law office, I always had people who mentored me, who taught me how to be good at what I did, who taught me how to want to be better at what I did and to be really good at it. And I think that made me a good fit for when I moved to Children's Court, because with children, you cannot be anything but the best. You have to be the best. You have to be able to push yourself, because you will encounter a lot of times when your emotion is pushed to the edge, when you're tried to your limits, and when you want to give up. But if you have discipline, number one, then you will be able to do very, 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 very difficult tasks that seem impossible. So 2014, that's when I met Honorable Justice Gitari, who was the Chief Magistrate at Milimani Children's Court. And she is a very, very passionate person. If you have had the opportunity to hear from her, and she had the hunger in her to change things. And she was lucky because she had a good team, myself and Linda there, and another very good team of other people who are hungry to make change, particularly for children. Milimani Children's Court is the largest exclusive children's court in the entire country. We're having some coming up, but it still leads us as the highest. And there are many, many different practitioners. There are people working from different organizations. We have something known as the Court Users Committee, which at some point you will get to know what that is. But it's a multi-sectoral team of people who have come together to achieve a certain objective. Of course, they have different interests, but their common goal is justice. So they come together to work and improve something that they have agreed on. So that is the time when Justice Gitari met with the US Department of Justice. I was not working with them at that point. And the US Department of Justice, as you have heard, usually sends very experienced prosecutors, federal prosecutors from the United States, and they have a vision for Kenya, and they fit it with what Kenyans also want. So, for example, identify gaps in our systems. Many of you may know that our legal system sometimes, when cases come into the system, they take a very long time for them to be cleared, which increases the inefficiencies of, you don't get justice really quickly. And some of the things that Justice Gitari wanted to do in collaboration with the US Department of Justice was change that, and particularly for children. Children cannot wait. So there was this tool called plea agreements in our system, and that's the one that was introduced. And we as lawyers who were handling the cases sat down and looked for ways to incorporate the new solutions for children in the system that we were running. We meant good, but we didn't have all the tools, or we were not utilizing all the tools. So after that, and the successes that came with the support of the National Council of Administration of Justice and ourselves, the process of plea agreements kicked off and they have continued. So when I finished my career at, I did not really finish, I transitioned. There was an opportunity that came up with the US Department of Justice. There was an advertisement, they were looking for a legal advisor. And I applied for it. I was a good fit because I understood whatever legal challenges we had in the country. And when I attended the interview, I was able to answer all the questions that they put to me. So we don't know about how the office will be then when you finish your school, when you become lawyers, but I can tell you that it's a very quickly growing office. I foresee, Tomika, that probably in 5 years, you might have 5 or 6 or 7 resident legal advisors. Right now, I'm the only Kenyan legal advisor. I have another colleague who we are excited to find out that her daughter is also a student here, a first law student, and she's actively working together with her colleagues to make sure that this conference is running smoothly. So right now, there's only 2 of us Kenyan employees with 3 resident legal advisors, and they all have massive projects. Hopefully, if it continues like that, we don't know, it might grow. Or maybe because Tomika is always challenging me to find, to always dream big. My position might be vacant at some point. And you look at it and you might find the opportunity to advise, but I can tell you it is a very competitive position. People apply for it. You have to have your pulse on the criminal justice, on the justice system entirely. So keep yourself updated on what's happening in the justice system. And I can assure you, whatever job comes up, you will be a good fit for that position when you apply. Thank you.
Caroline, sorry, just wanted to ask whether there are any opportunities for students. Do you have like internships or in your department, or that's something that you're not focusing on at the moment?
And maybe at this point, I'll probably invite Tomika. It's a US mission. So it's, like any mission in the world. So that is technically US territory. I will not be able to tell you about what the US government is making available, but probably Tomika can talk about that. And sorry for putting you on the spot.
If there are any opportunities, would be happy to know.
I'll be really fast so you can get to your other panelists. We don't offer opportunities for Kenyan law students to come in, but we have a program called American Spaces, which is opened up to Kenyan students. And there's a number of programs that we put on. Some of them are justice related. And if you join American Spaces, you're able to come to the embassy when they open back up. But I think a lot of them are virtual now, and you can partake in those opportunities. You can engage with other Kenyan students who are there, connect to the experts that are brought in, as well as the US direct hires that run that particular program. And the wonderful thing about American Spaces is that it's not only here in Nairobi, but they have American Spaces at various different locations throughout the country, including an American Spaces in Mombasa. So if you're interested, I challenged you to get cards. Everybody comes up, I will give you my card. I will follow up so that we can connect you to our public diplomacy section that runs American Spaces so that you can take part in those programs.
Thank you very much for that. It's American Spaces, that's the place to go. So thanks a lot, Caroline, for your presentation and for telling us a bit about your professional path. We're very grateful for that. So probably we can now have Lawrence Okoth talk to us a bit about, he spoke to us earlier and we're very grateful for what you told us about your work. Probably you may want to share some ideas regarding opportunities for students in the unit where you work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to say from where I work, there's a lot of opportunities in the sense that online crimes against children is a new emerging. And with the unit that we have, there is a lot of opportunity in terms of law students who are passionate about protecting children from the legal side. So at the DCI, you can always apply and for internship, and with your field of study, you can be assigned at a place where you can actually have hands-on opportunity to learn what we do. And while there, you can also get notice a gap that is there, and it can help you in your research. So I think that is an opportunity. We offer internships through the DCI. You apply and you are given a chance to have your internship at the DCI. Then you can be specific if you want to be at the Child Protection Unit, cyber section, or where, depending on your field of study. Another opportunity that I feel, you see, we, in the year 2019, as I said, the unit launched the cyber section of the unit that is focusing on online crimes against children. And it is a unique area. And we were the first country in Africa to be connected to the Interpol child sexual database, exploitation and abuse database. So it was an opportunity that even necessitated other countries. We had prosecutors from Somalia. We had a delegation from Uganda just coming to see what kind of the unit, a specialized unit we have that is focusing on crimes against children. So if it can attract some other legal students across Africa or practitioners, then it means it is something you can also do here in Kenya. Sindio? Yes, so those are the opportunities that I feel are there. And also, if you do internship with us, Kenya will have a cohort of lawyers from the law schools that while practicing before court, you are able to expertly attend to your client. You will interrogate and test our evidence to make the court to make the case be proved beyond reasonable doubt and inform the court in giving a verdict. So we have opportunities. The world is also focusing on deploying artificial intelligence. At the unit, we receive cyber tips, and these cyber tips comes with the reported videos that I, as an investigator, I have to review, then classify, then decide if it meets the investigation to be conducted, so that we deploy the resources we have rightly. We have to classify the reports that we get. So with the upcoming global focus on child online protection, by deploying artificial intelligence to actually do the work that I do of viewing and classifying, then it is an area that, as a law student, you can come with the legal implication. How can that one affect the legal fraternity in the country? So those are the areas that, if you work with us, you also help us handle the cases of children expertly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okoth. We acknowledge your contribution, especially because we realize that life is now moving to the virtual space. So you talk about child crime, it's really upcoming. Maybe just a question that has piqued some of us, at least our curiosity, the students and also those who are not students. How does one get to become a cyber forensic expert?
Yeah, for a cyber forensic expert, Yeah, you have to be trained, you have to be certified to be a cyber forensic expert with regards to what specific area you are studying. And we have those tools, forensic tools, that have been developed, like, for example, Celebrite. Celebrite, they will train you on how to use it and certify you as a cybercrime expert so that you can do the forensic examination. But at the DCI, generally DCI is under the National Police Service. So for you to be at the DCI, you have to pass through the police as a recruit. You have to be recruited as a police. And with the expertise you have, if you have a forensic expert course, you can be assigned at the cyber forensic lab to practice your expertise. And also within the service, like me, I studied within the service. I really went back to the university, literally, and my degree. And with the passion that I had, I think I foresaw that in the future within the service, the technology will be coming to be part of investigation. So I really had a passion on cyber forensics. So I went and did my degree in information technology at JKUAT. Then after that, with the paper I earned, I was at from the
That's your professional path. Very inspiring. Congratulations also. So we're now going to have, he's already online, Honorable Mr. Justice Laibuta, who will also share with us some thoughts on the topic and availability of opportunities for students in practice.
Thank you very much. I hope you can all hear and see me across the screen. You will excuse me for the disadvantage of having to speak after many people who I have not heard what they have said. So if I repeat something, you'll excuse me. Thirdly, I have fluctuations in the internet connectivity. If we go off, I will try and connect the line directly. You excuse for an interruption. I want to spend the next 10 or 15 minutes encouraging you to see what opportunities you have, not just as students, but as prospective career and professional practitioners in law. There is a whole world of opportunities for you. All you need is to be focused. All you need is to work hard. All you need is to have big dreams, and you will get there. Of course, the hope is that your dreams do not turn into nightmares when you lose focus of what it is that you really want to be. But there are opportunities. Let me begin by perhaps sharing a little about my background. I have a background as a litigation counsel. I practiced law for about 33 years, going to 34 now in the legal profession, having been admitted in 1987 it was. That gives us about 34 years ago. I've also taught law, first at what was known as the Kenya Polytechnic, later Technical University of Kenya, and recently, University of Embu Law School. And of course, I now serve as a judge of the Court of Appeal. Now, what has been my experience in practice, besides little you the opportunities open for you as well. Following the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010, I was appointed as one of the commissioners in the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution for a term of 5 years, where I was engaged in law reform, extensive law reform, legislative drafting, policy analysis and development, and all manner of legislative instruments, including rules, regulations, and other administrative procedures. So the implementation of the Constitution played a large part of my practice as a legislative counsel and as an advocate. What that exposed me to is an area you will find very exciting: human rights. When you begin interrogating various sectors that engage in human rights, you will find it extremely exciting because it's a dynamic area for you, it's very challenging, and it serves the needs of the day for each one of us. A subsector of human rights advocacy is the children's rights. And I'll tell you why that also came in as a very exciting prospect for me. When I served as a commissioner in the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, a great deal of the legislation that we had to reform focused on human rights, children's rights. And that opened a new world for me altogether. Of course, besides practicing as an advocate in litigation on matters involving family law, family law ranging from separation and maintenance, particular maintenance of children, custody, guardianship, and such. But that was at the level of practice, which you will also find very exciting. But in my practice as a legislative counsel, I found it extremely exciting getting engaged in legislative drafting on matters, human rights, and particularly children's rights. And what I did as a legislative counsel is to take an opportunity to join the International Law Institute in Kampala, a Center for Legal Excellence, and did a diploma in legislative drafting, again, to sharpen my skills in legislative drafting. And after leaving CIC in 2015, I took 1 year off, no work, just to sit and write. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with my books in law. But when I came back in 2017, I got an opportunity to draft the children's bill, which is pending enactment today. It's just been gazetted by, no, I'm not sure whether it's been gazetted, but it's gone through the committee level and it's pending enactment. Now that took 2017, 2018, 2019. But then in between, I think from 2019, I was also engaged and worked with a cross-section of state and non-state agencies, international bodies, in not just in the drafting of the bill, but also in the drafting of the rules and regulations to give effect to the bill. And I have done a great deal of work. The recent assignments, yes, it's been gazetted. That is beautiful to hear. Now, drafting the rules and regulations became extremely exciting for me. You can imagine having as one of your few assignments every day you wake up, you just sit and drafting legislation and so forth. And the rules were extremely exciting, a whole set of about 13, 14 of them. Again, they have been, those rules have been finalized. They're just awaiting enactment of the bill so that we make the few adjustments that we need to align it to the Act once it is done, and that will be it. Now, that was not the end of my assignments. Besides the rules and regulations that came thereafter were the CUC, Children's Court User Guidelines, that I concluded recently, and I am now incorporating some of the lately received recommendations for improvement. Then, of course, there are the Children's Court's practice notes, the court's practice notes, and besides that, a toolkit for diversion. Again, you find diversion a very exciting area to familiarize with. You see, the way we process children in conflict or in contact with the law is not through the criminal justice system. It's an approach that is both restorative, transformative, and so forth. And get to learn a great deal about all these things. So opportunities are open to you in many, many, many areas. Besides advocacy, you have the opportunity to join the courts as magistrates courts, as magistrates in the children's courts, and of course, many others. You have perfect opportunity to enjoy this exciting area of legislative drafting. And I'm sure you'll be doing some drafting at the School of Law, but I always encourage people to sharpen their skills and get to train at a much higher level so that work starts looking for you rather than you looking for work. There are great opportunities in the sector of children's rights. As children's rights defenders, advocates for children's rights, as volunteers, even at the time you are, even when studying as you are presently, still begin with volunteering, getting attachments in various state and non-state agencies, NGOs or public benefit organizations that deal with the defense and advocacy for children's rights. You could be legal officers in some of these governmental and non-governmental organizations. There are more than enough agencies waiting for you out there, concerns with children's rights that you can you can join and start sharpening your skills in that area. You have international bodies that are waiting for those of you who climb up to the top, the very top professionals in human rights and children's rights in particular. So, and I always tell students, and I'm sure some of the students from University of Embu are listening, law school are listening to me even as I speak here. I always tell them that there is always room at the top. And to get to the top, you need to work harder than hard. I always encourage students to be able to spend every moment of your college life able to account for every hour, every minute, every day, every week, every month. And if you focus your attention on children's rights, the opportunities will be more than you need to propel yourself into a career that is very exciting to deal with. Acquaint yourself with the Constitution to begin with human rights instruments, international and regional, UN instruments on children's rights, and you will not regret this beginning. Very well. Yes, any questions? I should have begun perhaps with my academic background, but I studied law at the University of Nairobi, went to School of Law, joined University of London's, the London School of Economics and Political Science for my LLM, and eventually my PhD at the University of Nairobi Law School at Parklands. So that sums up me. And now I'm enjoying the privilege of serving as Judge of Appeal, an opportunity that is open to all of you some years to come. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will very quickly answer. Good.
Especially for sharing with us the secret to have work looking for you rather than you looking for work. What's the secret? Students, what's the secret? Study what? Legislative drafting. It's the secret that has been shared with us today. Work will start looking for you. Asante sana. Probably now a good moment to hear what Joy Katunge has to share with us. We invite you to give us a brief presentation so that we can then quickly move on to Juliet Gashanja and close this part of the panel and move on to partnerships. Karibu sana Joy, are you with us? Connected? So Joy Katunge apparently is not available, so we can then ask Juliet Gashanja to share something with us regarding the theme at hand.
Good afternoon.
And meanwhile, we can get the panelists and the partnerships to warm up for their presentations.
Good afternoon. Once again, I hope all of us can hear me. Sorry for any background noise. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And it's a big shoes to fill to speak after Justice Laibuta, who is a mentor. So, well, I am an advocate. And I studied law. I have 2 master's degrees. One is on minorities' rights and the law, and the other one is international child rights law. Like most of us here, I have learned, and Professor Julia Slough-Nelson and Dr. Anne Skelton as well, for the in Leiden just very recently. So I was just a student just the other day. So I feel very much at home just speaking to us. But you know, one of the things I really want to share with us is opportunities for us as students. And I am also a lecturer at Kabarak University, and I advise the Task Force on Children Matters. I think one of the opportunities that are not taught to students when we are in university is something called policy lobbying and advocacy. And I think it's maybe some of us have mentioned it, some of the speakers, but one of the things I tell my students when I teach them I teach them children and the law, is that we have an opportunity to engage our members of parliament, and we have an opportunity to engage our county governments when it comes to children and the law matters, because these are the people who are responsible to make decisions. They are change makers. And it's easy as walking into your county government office and saying, you know, this is something I'm realizing is happening in my community that needs to be addressed. So this is one of the opportunities that I really encourage students to look out for when it comes to, you know, being an advocate. And you can do this right when you're in university through the, like for instance, the Wakili wa Watoto Club that will be launched, and you can use this as an avenue, as an opportunity. The other thing that I've also seen working in, like for instance, in Kabarak universities, I interested students in working with partners and NGOs that are already working on the ground on children matters. And I remember we did one of the amazing projects that we did together with our students was really teaching children rights to children who are living with disabilities, and you know, from all spectrum, and we identified two schools, one in Kisumu, another one in Nakuru, and we were able to do this quite effectively. So where the students took what they learned in class and they actually used it in various schools and with the children themselves. So that for me was something quite admirable to see my students do that. So being a lawyer does not begin and end with practice or litigation, as you've heard from most of us. And I would really like to urge a lot of us to jump into this bandwagon of lobbying and advocacy. I have lobbied for various laws through the organizations that I work for. I worked for the Cradle the Children Foundation. I've seen Madam Enrica here, who is my boss, and I learned lobbying and advocacy from her. And I worked again from the Cradle the Children Foundation. I also worked in International Justice Mission. But I want to say this, where it all began for me is I was almost a professional intern. I was an intern for many years, for I think 2 years, one in Kenya with various organizations, then later on also in the UK where I did my first master's. So it is not bad to be an intern. It is not bad to wait to be paid for a long time, because eventually the payment does come. But what these internship opportunities give you and grant you is an opportunity to learn under someone. And that means you can make mistakes, which after 10 years, some mistakes we really cannot afford to make. And that is the thing I take away from, from this internship opportunities that I got. So for a long time, I was an intern and also I identified what I wanted to do pretty early in my life. At 12 years old, I knew I was going to be a child rights advocate. And so when I finished law school, I joined the Department of Children's Services as a volunteer. And I worked there in the Nairobi office. It was the provincial office those days, and I worked there for about 6 months. And that, not 6 months, 3 months, and that catapulted me to International Justice Mission, which was where I did my first internship as a lawyer and as a child rights practitioner in the making. So this is my story is a bit everywhere, and I was just telling one of the organizers that I'd be more than happy to have another session with the students who eventually joined the Wakili Watoto Club. And I'll be more than happy to online meetings to all the universities. I will leave my contacts with you, my email address, if you can write it quickly. That's juliet.nyambura@kabarak.ac.ke. And I'll be happy to engage with the students who joined the Wakili wa Watoto Club, because that is my passion. It was my passion since I was a child, and I'm still doing it. I've heard Dr. Lebuta has given us a secret to making what is it called? Money look for you and jobs look for you. Also efficiency. Efficiency is another secret, and identifying those things that are unique that people are not doing. So my other great love is fighting human trafficking. And I identified it as a very unique area that people were not really concentrating on and focusing on. And from that, I have looked at various gaps, including training, policies, lobbying, and all these things. And I have been able to really push for this and advocate for this. And because of that, I have been sought after both in Kenya and internationally to speak on issues of human trafficking. So that's the other trick, is find your niche, be efficient, and see where the gap is at, and always stay relevant. Thank you very much.
Opportunities, and not to be choosy, to go out there and create links, network. Thanks also for your availability to mentor the Wakili wa Watoto Club network that we are going to inaugurate in this summit. We can then consider this part of the panel concluded, and we're now going to get into the last section, the last bit of it, that's on partnerships. We ask you to be a bit patient as we conclude before we leave for the lunch break. Karibuni sana. We'll have Thomas Joseph facilitate and moderate that part of the panel session.
All right, great. A round of applause for the speakers who've just preceded. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next part of our discussion, we're just going to look at, we're going to appreciate certain players who play. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So we're going to appreciate. Okay. Inasema battery low. And tumbo zenu pia ziko hivyo. But that's on a lighter note. So we're going to go to the next part. We appreciate in our midst, we have a representative from Child Fund. just warm your hands as we invite Eunice, who's joining us online. She's part of the Child Fund, has partnered during the formation of this whole thing, and want to appreciate them. We want to give Eunice an opportunity to just share with us in a nutshell what opportunities are there for us as students in this sector. So a round of applause as we welcome Eunice.
Thank you very, very much. I'm honored and quite delighted to be in this forum. We, Child Fund Kenya, we are proud and very happy and humbled to be part of this process. We are very passionate about children as Child Fund Kenya, and we are about the protection of children. And so being part of this forum, we are at home and we are friends of lawyers, especially in the aspect of protecting children. Child Fund Kenya is a child-focused agency. Our core business is the protection of children, ensuring that all children access all their rights based on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the laws in Kenya that touch on the protection of children. So we work towards ensuring that children access all their rights, survival rights, protection rights, participation rights, and development rights as summarized in the UNCRC. So what we do as Child Fund Kenya with regard to the justice system, we work with communities to prevent children from being into contact with the justice system. And some of the things that we do as Child Fund Kenya is strengthening the community-based child protection mechanism. We know that communities need to play a key role in the protection of children. And if communities play the role that they ought to play at family level and even at the extended community level, very few children will get into contact with the law, so to speak. So our programs basically touch on creating the awareness at community level on their role of protecting children. We also work on ensuring that communities and families are stable in terms of livelihoods. We all know that poverty is a key issue that that contributes significantly to children being into contact with the law, because sometimes when there's so much poverty, then there are issues that spring from there at all levels. I know I do not have enough time to talk about this, but we address the whole aspect of poverty. As an organization also, we are very keen on the area of advocacy to make sure that whoever is accountable to ensuring that children enjoy their rights is doing what they ought to do, just to sum it up. And so we are keen on advocacy on the part of children being able to access their rights. So as Child Fund Kenya, one thing that I may need to do in terms of encouraging you to be part of us in terms of working towards children achieving their rights. There are so many avenues and opportunities that you can work with us from the NGO sector, representing children in court, like legal aid, for example. It would be such a great entry point. We know that children, there are so many issues that are facing children within the justice system. Children, the area around diversion, that's one of the gaps. We know, we are very happy, and when I had Professor Laibuta speaking, he's a friend of children, and I was honored to be part of the team that worked with him in the children's bill and the regulations, rules and regulations that we concluded doing. So I know his passion for children, and I know his commitment to ensuring that children have a good law. The law that is a bill in Parliament, like he mentioned, the status of the Children's Bill is a child-friendly law, because we know that in issues of formalizing diversion, the law formalizes diversion. The law also talks about legal representation. It makes it a right, this new law. And so we have really engaged in advocacy to make sure that the bill becomes law so that children can be better protected. And if you join, we know that this is going to be actualized. You as lawyers know things about rights better than anybody else. So on the part of advocacy, that's a key role that you can play in the children's sector. Children are they're the weak people in the community, and so they need representation, needless to say. And so having enough people on the board championing for children's rights would be great. Again, you can educate the communities on the rights of children. Having understood the issues on rights better than anyone else, you can educate communities so that they understand issues regarding the rights of children. Something else that you can do, you can work with us in the advocacy sector, like I have mentioned. You can work with us in the advocacy sector to ensure that children have access to all their rights to education, rights to participation, and rights to all the rights that's stipulated in the children's law. So I'm very, very happy and delighted to be part of this forum. Strengthening the community-based mechanism is something that I'm very passionate about, because I know the protection of children, the onus for protecting children lies squarely at family level and at community level. So you joining us in terms of strengthening communities' capacities for the protection of children would be one very critical entry point. And I'm also very happy about the initiative on Wakili wa Watoto. I want to join the rest of the team just to express my excitement about the Wakili wa Watoto concept. We cannot wait as NGOs to be part of this process and to ensure that children know that there are lawyers who are committed to protecting them, so to speak. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in the rest of the deliberations. Asante. I'll take a question or two from in terms of if
amazing
any
stuff.
question to
Thank
the
you.
NGO.
Thank you, Eunice Kilundo, for that. We really appreciate it. We want to also just introduce one of our panelists who's joining online as well. That's Jennifer Kabiri from Total News. And this digital era, there's carved out a space where we as millennials, people who normally use devices, you can use such platforms to advocate for children's rights. You've had advocacy is an important, an integral part in the same. So quickly moving to Jennifer Kabiri. What opportunities, sorry about that. What opportunities, Jennifer, do you see are integral for us as students? If you could just fine tune it to the opportunities, that would be so great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. First, I want to say I'm a law school dropout. I dropped out of school first year because I thought I'm not the person to go to the court and say, Your Honor, sir, Honorable Madam, I couldn't. And the fact that I was going to be forced to put on heels and a short skirt, that was not me. But I wish I knew what I know today. I would have pursued my law degree. Why? Because law is beyond going to courts and doing Your Honorable Sir, Madam, you know? So I wish I knew that, because right now, as Karabo and Juliet will tell you, I do a lot of law stuff. You know, I've been involved in doing policies and laws. I was part of the team with Dr. Laibuta that developed the Children's Bill. I've developed a child participation guideline for the African Union. Right now, I'm working on a number of research on child participation. Like Juliet, my niche is child participation. Yes, as Juliet said, look for your niche. Children's rights are very many, so just look for one right that you can be able to focus on. So so you have the opportunities are there. So don't be a dropout. Don't drop out like myself from law school because you don't want to put on heels. You don't want to say you're honorable, sir. Just pursue it because there's so many opportunities. You can be like person like me who my focus is on child participation and the media and tech and media tech and children. Okay, so you can focus on that. You can use the digital space, as I think Lauren said earlier, that these are new. It's a new era. It's the digital generation. Everything is moving online, but online has so many things. Okay, you can say your focus is going to be on cyber security for low cyber security. You can say your focus will be on privacy, and then on privacy in itself, on the right to privacy. There's so many aspects, tiny aspects. I have a friend of mine I mentor. She's a lawyer. I mentor her, and her focus on privacy is not everything, it's only on photographs. Like she does not focus on everything. She says children have a right to privacy, but her focus is not to be taken photographs. Like that's where she has focused. And what is the new law? And you have actually co-authored a paper with her on just that, on the right to privacy on that. And then you can look at artificial intelligence. There's so many opportunities, especially in the digital space when it comes to legal. So it is you to look what is your passion. Okay, what makes your heart beat? Okay, for me, I tell guys, my calling is children. I wake up, I sleep, I eat. Okay, I don't eat children. You understand, you know what I'm saying. So my passion is children. So for me, if you can be able to, and then you can be able to focus, there's so many days someone is writing for me something. You can have a degree and master on something else. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone is reminding me I'm a social worker, by the way. But I'm a social worker, remember? But I am doing law, I'm doing media and tech. So you can be able to specialize on something that you love, okay? You can specialize on something that is passionate to you, okay? So for me, that is my encouragement. So look, don't run away from law thinking it is difficult. It is not easy. It is not easy for you. It's not easy to do what you're doing. For me, someone is reminding me. I did not drop out of school. I dropped out of law school, but I did another degree, social work. Yeah, someone is telling me I did not drop out. I dropped out of law school, but I did social work. So I did social work and communication. That's my background, and that's because that's my passion in school. Actually, I did that because my passion is social work. I wanted to work with children, and social work was the closest to what I was doing. And that's what I'm saying. If I knew then when I was dropping law school that I would be able to work with children without going to court, I would have pursued my law degree. But now I love what I do. I do social work. I specialize on policy and community development. And I'm back to developing policies. I'm back to developing laws for children. I'm back to advocating for children. I'm back to empowering children. So for me, my encouragement is look for a niche, pray. I'm a believer in prayer. Pray, look for your niche. There's so many opportunities. I will tell you what my first boss, I tell this to I work with very young people in my team. My team is made up of very young people. I'm the oldest, and I will not tell you my age. Everybody else is below the age of 30. And what I tell you guys, because the problem with the current generation is you are very busy looking for money. You lose other opportunities for learning. And as June said, what you learn today, I will scream at you today as your boss, but I've given you a lesson, okay? A good one or a bad one. Lessons are either way. It can be a negative lesson or a positive lesson. It's how to treat people or how not to treat people. It's either way, okay? But don't look for money. Look for problems that you can be able to solve. When you get the solution, money will come for you. Okay, so don't look for I want to work with Laibuta and Laibuta law firm because they pay the same. I know Daktari pays his lawyer as well. So I want to work with Dr. Laibuta because he's going to pay, and I don't want to work with Jules because Jules is a lecturer. So and she cannot be able to pay me well. Probably Jules will teach you how to lecture. Okay, and you learn a lesson. So look for a problem that you can be able to solve, and then money will come for you. Okay. Children, I know children, when you're looking out there, they cannot pay. That's what people say. Children's staff don't pay. But trust me, the pay may not be money, but the way you sleep at night, oh, it's worth it. Like you sleep so well, you sleep so well. So that's my encouragement to you, young lawyers. You can get me at Jennifer, JENNIFER @mtotonews.com. Send me an email. I have a couple of lawyers in my team, and they would want a couple of other people to come and help with the work that we do around child participation and research on child participation. You can follow me on Twitter at Dalito, DALITHSO on Twitter. And then you can follow Mtoto News on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on everywhere that social media is there at Mtoto News. So thank you so much. The team, Rosie, you've done a superb job. I can't wait to see this Wakili wa Watoto up and running. And congratulations as you launch this. I am here to support. As Drew said, I'm open to come and have a sit in. I already mentoring a number of lawyers, young lawyers. So I'm open evenings 7 to 8 to sit down, ask any questions. I'll be here to answer. Thank you so much. God bless you.
We really appreciate it. Pursue purpose, not money. I think that has really stood out for me. So even in our pursuit, it's not money that's the end goal, but purpose. Thank you, Jennifer. We really appreciate it. I want to acknowledge the panelists that are over here, and they had already introduced themselves and what they're doing. And how many of you guys like punchlines? Like those lyrics in a song that really get the thing going, like that points to the really thing that it's about. So in the spirit of punchlines, I'd like the panelists that are here, give us a punchline of the opportunities that are present for us as students. Fine-tune it for us to really understand it concisely. Thank you. And I'm going to start with Wakilisha CEO Elizabeth Njambi. Karibu sana.
Thank you, TJ. I know him as TJ. I've seen him building his legal career, and I'm so proud of you. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you on battery low? Can we do this? Can you skuma yourself a bit? Just a bit. Skuma yourself kidogo. Okay. My name is Elizabeth. As I had said, I'm the founder and CEO of Wakilisha Initiative. I'll give you a punchline on creating opportunities for yourself. Now, we have been told about finding your niche. What is it that you love? What is it that you enjoy doing? How many of you had Paul's story yesterday? How many of you had Paul's story yesterday? It was very moving, right? And I can tell you that his story is not unique. There are very many more Pauls. There are many more Janes out there with the same story. I've interacted with so many of them, and if we brought them here, we'd all leave crying. But that's why you're here. That's why I'm here. That's why all of these actors are here. Some have done work before us, and now it's up to us to continue moving, right? So you've had all of these people, but then you've decided, I don't want to go to DOJ. I don't want to be a cybercrime expert. It has a lot of reading. We were told to study, right? So you've decided, out of all these people, I don't see exactly where I fit in, but I know I want to do something. I want to create my own opportunity. So that is how I felt in my last year of university at the University of Nairobi. We also heard about Committee YCTC yesterday, right? You had it being mentioned. You had Committee YCTC. Did you know that it's inside committee? Have you been to committee? How many have been to committee? Not as a suspect. Sorry? Yeah, so this is the notion we have of committee. It's a big, scary place, right? And that's also what I knew. So as a student, I was a member of the Students Association for Legal Aid and Research. And we were doing a data collection exercise at Committee YCTC. So the reason I signed up is because I just wanted to see the children that I'm hearing are inside YCTC, inside committee. So I went. And the collection exercise, we were asking, how are you? What's your name? Why are you here? Where is your case? Do you understand the charges? And by the time I left, most of them did not have advocates. And those who did really did not understand the nature of their charges. Do you understand what really happens if you're found guilty? What is a witness statement? Most of them did not understand any of that. And so I left there feeling very challenged. The other thing that was common amongst all of them is they were coming from vulnerable backgrounds. Vulnerable, that's what we say. Yes, that's the right term to use in psychology. You don't say that they come from poor families or they are poor. They are not poor. They come from vulnerable backgrounds. But that really stuck with me, because what's so special about me, I could have been one of them, except that I had a different upbringing. And so I went back to school. I was in my 4th year. I had already started my research work. In fact, I was in the final stages. I had completed my proposal, that how much work goes into doing that. But I just an opportunity by the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law, and they were looking for innovations in law. So that, coupled with the experience I had, I decided I'm going to do something to enter this competition. And that's where Wakilisha was born. And I spoke to a friend of mine. He was doing IT at the time, and I told him, I want to do this. Let's do something. And he said, wow, that's so interesting. It's like, you like it? Okay, fine. I'm serious. Let's talk to someone else. And I founded Wakilisha like that. And we have been growing since. So my encouragement to you is do those things. It's not going to be easy, especially if you're starting. You may not have funding. You may not have the time if you're balancing with other things. But whatever small initiative you're doing counts for something. It's going to touch someone's life. So opportunities, I've talked about creating your own. Within Wakilisha itself, we work with student volunteers. We work with SLC a lot. We're going to be working with Sala. So if you're interested, and then we're going to have the Wakili wa Watoto clubs. So sign up for those, encourage others to sign up for those. But again, find your niche. The other opportunity I'd like to talk about is capacity building for yourself and for others. The session we had with Honorable Kibosia is very important. If you're going to go into child rights advocacy, you need to understand child psychology, not just how to speak to the children, but also how you relate to some of the activities, so that you understand before you see this child and decide you've been told the child is facing a murder charge. Then you start approaching the child as if they're an actual murderer. You've not gone behind the scenes. You've not understood what is happening. You've not investigated the challenges some of their parents have faced. Some of them could have been incarcerated. They come from families whose parents have been incarcerated before. So this is part of a cycle that they've experienced. So teach yourself, understand child psychology, and again, most importantly, understand your niche and pursue that through and through. All the very best in your careers. We look forward to seeing you in this field.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Liz. Asante for that. We really welcome those remarks. And I believe we're encouraged. So even as you draw to our close, there are two gentlemen, and I believe they're gentlemen of few words, and they're going to give us punchlines. So I'll invite Patrick Washira.
I'll try. Thank you so much. My attention is drawn to some few years back when I talk about partnership. And it's very important probably to reflect back to our history. Even in this country, those of us who are senior to us here, like Lady Justice Madeka and Lucy Gitari, I might not have a lot of authority talking before them about Kenyan history. But I remember 2002, when we had a new government, and the relationship, I come from the civil society organization, so I talk from that perspective. Although previously I've worked for government as a probation officer, but I think I was drawn again this side. So by that time, the relationship was always antagonizing. Government is one side and civil society on the other side. Until later on, when we realized that all of us, we have a country to build, and we started coming together. So when you think about partnership, you think about partnership like the way we are in this room. all of us, we are together and our focus is towards the child. How best we can improve the well-being of the child within the justice system. We are not asking, I'm not asking Carol why she's working for the US Department. I'm not asking you why you are there at whatever university that you are in. But when you look at the partnership, you'll be going out there with open-minded that what is it that I can do? It doesn't matter where you begin. What matters is what you can do. And we began in 2005 in a very small way, but some of the things that we have seen now have grown beyond us. So when you think about something small, like for instance, you're thinking about your topic, your research topic, what is it that you would like to do in this sector? Think from that point, but think big in a way that is something that you can be able to grow. Let me give you some insights. For instance, we began some components when they were not legislated, when there was no policy that was done. Diversion, for instance, and so many people have talked about it. We began doing it, learning from other forums or other areas. But right now, you look at the legislation that is about to come, I believe the children's bill will go through, it is going to be into law. So you begin something small. And I would like that when you're looking for your research topics, look at those research topics, for instance, that probably there isn't a lot that has been done, but yet it is a practice that has been there. Diversion is one area. We are talking about family conferencing. Family conferencing is another area. And I would like to give a case scenario where we began family conferencing in 2005 and people did not know about it and how that now is supporting the diversion process. For instance, we get cases from the prosecution, but we have to go back to the family, to work with the family in order to sustain what the diversion has done. So diversion in itself cannot stand if the family and the community have not, gone through the process of restoration. And when you look at that, you don't look at it only from the perspective of the law, also look at what happens in human interactions, because that is what for us, especially coming from the social science backgrounds, we feel that the law cannot start hanging up there, not unless the community embraces and begin to have a shift of mind in order to accept that. The last point, because I'm a man of few words, so I want to believe, is that after the little that we began, right now we have created a forum that we are calling the African Council on Juvenile Justice, and we are bringing stakeholders. We are bringing stakeholders from the academia, from the civil society organization, from the public administration, from the judiciary, and not only here in Kenya, but reaching out to other African countries and exchanging. So we are building our capacity together. For instance, recently we had one webinar, and I would like to invite all of you that you may follow us in the social media accounts. In the social media accounts are the African Council on Juvenile Justice. You'll be able to see on Twitter, on Facebook, and the like. And if you reach to us, we shall be able to get back to you. Under that one, we learned something that for me, I have always dreamt about in this country. And this was a case scenario of Lesotho, where they are having village justice committees, community justice committees, and especially focused into areas where you are not able to easily access court. And we are having, in that country, they are having probation officers going for miles whenever there is a case that has been reported, and being able to sit with the community and address a matter of children. So for me, that was so powerful, from the sense that you are not able to enhance access to justice because of other impediments such as distance and so on. But at the same time, you can still be able to increase the protection of the child if you can devise a community-based mechanism. For instance, like now what we have here, like the Area Advisory Council. That is how I looked at it. But not leaving out anyone simply because there was no vehicle, the distance is far, personnel are always limited in government. But what else can we do and involve the community further in order for us to make sure that children access justice? And in that case, I would invite you, when you look at those topics under the African Council on Juvenile Justice, we are looking forward how we can look at the papers that you might be having at the level of the university, at the level, individual level as students. And if you want, in a way, whenever we are having a webinar, you want to share something impactful that you have researched on, we can create that platform and we engage with other universities out there, and you tell them, in my research, this is what I found. And probably it might change some people in one corner or give better services to a child. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's appreciate him. All right, we're now going to invite Mr. Samuel Munyuing, as he will have the last punch, and which will conclude for us this panel session. Karibu sana. What opportunities are there in the sector available to us as students?
Thank you, and thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. It's often a struggle for some people. Good morning this afternoon. How are you? You know, the last words are usually the most important, isn't it? Yeah, so this one you just have to listen, take your time, relax. After all, you see, I don't have hair, meaning I have a lot of wisdom, yeah? So for those who weren't there when I started off, Samuel remains my name, or rather they told me so. And I work with African Institute for Children's Studies. This is a Pan-African organization with a focus on knowledge management and building capacity. I wouldn't go into the kizungu mingi. Umesikia kizungu mingi tayari? I guess I was last for a reason, kwa sababu kwa ground mambo can be different. I serve largely at the ground in the sense that we give the space where then all these legislations we make, all these structures we talk about, ultimately meet the child. And I think that's really what makes the difference. And we hope we can encourage you to join the Watoto Wakili, because that's the space. But while I've mentioned that you have the opportunity to join us as an intern, as a researcher, to join our advocacy work in policy and legislations. And very interestingly, almost everyone who's spoken, including those who've done this online, I think for me, I know them in person. So talking about partnership, that is one very obvious thing that you get when you work with children. And I guess, you know, the same way you think about setting up a business, you don't go into products that are flooded in the market, isn't it? I think the reason why we sort of get to know each other that well is it's a small space with few people. Yet, I think interestingly also is, think about populations. Who are the majority in this country? The highest proportion are still children, isn't it? So if that is the highest proportion, then there's really a good chance that there's so much to be done to meet their needs. And, you know, the other thing to appreciate, even as those who are, you know, preparing to leave college and join the space, is that there's so much that is changing in the continent in terms of governance. I think, yes, there's a lot of challenge, but if you look at cumulative, even the last 20 years, there's quite some good progress. And one of those is a great appreciation of human rights, a great appreciation of social protection rights, and therefore the need for people who can come engage in that. In the last few months, I've engaged in projects that are looking at making counties accountable to the children that they do serve. And I think that's really quite an opportunity for you, therefore, to engage in these conversations. There is more expectation that why aren't we suing government or you know, state departments just to make everyone accountable in their own space. So I see that as a key area that you can come in. But I don't want to bore you with all that. Maybe just build a bit on what my other colleagues have mentioned. Elizabeth could be quite able to relate with this. I've had Jennifer talk about it. That in life, there are just a few things that really make you stand out. Number one, my colleagues have said, is the ability to be a problem solver. No one cares how much English you can write or you can speak if you don't solve problems and real problems, okay? So I think as long as you have an eye for where is the gap in meeting human need, don't limit yourself and say, I studied law and that is the only thing I can do. That's the only space I can play in. I am here, I think I could be the one who's very different. My first degree is in biochemistry. My second degree is in public health. But I'm in the space where then we are able to create platforms for all these different people to be able to have a conversation about this one child. So I have professors who are in health, people in gender, in education, and sometimes we actually do joint projects. A good example is if you're going to do a project on COVID, impact of COVID on access to sexual reproductive health products for young people. You will need a gender expert, you need a legal expert, you will need, the education, the health expert. So I think that space exists and you need to be able to be there. So kindly look out for gaps in meeting people's needs. That is what makes Mark Zuckerberg. What is the name of that guy from Facebook? Do you even care what he studied? But he's meeting a need, and that's what has made him to be very influential and also have the money. Lastly, I think in that journey, I'm reminded of some management course that I learned. And I think what I learned was very essential. That there are 4 things that you always require in your life to be able to excel. Whether in business, whether you are in your career, employee somewhere, or you're running outfits like the one I founded. 4 things. I wish at the time I would have asked you. I guess you'll give me very different answers. But one of those is education, money. Any other guess? Yes. And I realize I'm in the Strathmore Business School here. There's one more. So reputation. But the last 2, relationships and reputation, is what will take you places. So 1, if you've cut your niche and you're solving a problem, you will associate with the people in that space. But what do they know you for? Your reputation is also very critical. I can know you, but I'm like, don't touch that one. So part of what we offer as an organization is the ability to sharpen each other. Because yes, we may know each other. I've worked with teams. Sometimes you realize we come in with very different strengths, and I learn from another team. So that is a space you need to always be very look out for, be willing to learn, and be clear on the gap you're trying to address, and be innovative. As an organization, we worked with the National Council for Administration of Justice, and we did together develop the Juvenile Justice Information Management System. This is a platform that allows data entry of a child whenever they are identified, whether by police, by the Department for Children's Services, and straight on the judiciary or everyone else in the prisons can know how many children to expect. So it's still under pilot, and my good friends are here from Macharia Court Users Committee, and we think that is a space I really hope you can come in. I think someone said there's, digital space. So don't get boxed in, I studied law and that's all I want to do. Open up, get into digital space, give solutions in every space, and I'm sure you'll be very relevant and be able to grow in a great way. Thank you.
Amazing. Let's clap again. Let's just appreciate the whole panel for the wonderful discussion that we've engaged in. To my benefit, kama benefit ni inulie mkono hivi. This was for the students, and we've taken time because it's really important that you understand that these opportunities are there. Innovate, be creative. Passion is important, and not following money. So I really appreciate the panelists for their wealthy experience that they've shared with us so willingly. So let's just appreciate it once again. And the engagement does not stop there. We follow up. I believe these are people who can follow up, reach out to them. They're very open, and they can follow up and even provide mentorship. So let's even follow through with the discussion as we go to lunch. Aisha, let's continue to engage. So without further ado, that marks the end of this panel session. And the last thing that I want to tell you, for those that were interested in American Spaces, you can seek out the same from their website. You can just go to the American embassy website, and under the education and exchanges tab in the local program section, you'll find a link for American Spaces. So asanteni sana. It is I and then Dr. Jennifer have been your host for this panel session. You're most welcome. So we can be upstanding as we even pray for the lunch that is before us.
We can be upstanding as we clap for them. You can have your seats. I'll be praying for lunch, but later after everyone is seated. Thank you. So I know let's sit down first. I know we want lunch, but we want to award winners more. Yeah. Cindy. And we want to launch the Wakili wa Watoto Club, and we need to launch it when we still have the hunger to launch it, So we'll quickly move into the launch, and then which will be guided by Patrick Nzomo and Alan Mukuki. This one.
Good afternoon. Apologies for the last minute changes. We realized that since we have just a short session remaining, we finish with that. Then hopefully in 30 minutes we'll have finished everything. We go for lunch and we close the day. Okay, instead of coming back to the hall. So that's why we had to reorganize that. That said, my name is Alan Mukuki. I'm a lecturer in Strathmore Law School and part of the management team.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Nzomo. I'm a graduate assistant here. I specifically help with the law clinic and moods.
Thank you so much, Patrick. That said, we would like to begin the session with an award ceremony of the Cindy Wakio Moot competition, which happened on 5th and 6th as a precursor to this summit. We have 5 teams that were successful in the moot. So we'll call them one by one. Then we'll start with So I'm told we'll start with the best memorials. So I need to get my list. Let me get it.
Okay, as Alan gets his list, as you can see from the program, the moot is called Cindy Wakio Moot Court Competition. So Cindy Wakio was one of our former students, a great, excellent mooter. And that's why the moot is named after her. She unfortunately passed on moments to graduation. And in honor of her, we named the internal moots Cindy Wakio. And this is the moot we use to select the mooters who will represent the school in the various national and international moot court competitions the following year.
Thank you, Patrick. In fact, Cindy had won for us 5 international trophies. She passed on a month before her graduation in 2018. May God rest her soul in eternal peace. That said, we'll start with the best memorial. This was after an average of all the memorials, and the team 1 of Kitonga Mulandi and Albert Wangai were the winners. We may welcome them with a clap. As I invite Dr. Watuta to present this particular trophy to them. Thank you. For the best female oralist from team 22, we have Wangare Kamau, and I would like to invite, I don't know if Tomika is still here. No? Okay. I would like to invite Justice Kibosia, Honorable Kibosia. Soon, I'm praying good prayers for you. So Wangari Kamau was the best female oralist in the competition, which had 37 teams going against each other from first year to fourth year. Actually, those who have gotten she's a first year, her first semester in law school, and she won the moot against second year, third year. We have the best male oralist, Mark Gitau from Team 2. I'll invite the Dean to Dr. Kwenjera to give this trophy. Thank you. Now for the runners-up team, Team 2 of Tabitha Munyaka and Melissa Ikawa, I'll invite back Honorable Kibosia to give this trophy. Yes. Yes, that's the camera. Thank you so much. As I invite Justice Matheka to come give the winning team. Team 22, Wangari Kamau and Mark Gitau, first year students who won the internal Cindy Wakio moot. I would ask Mark and Wangari to stand somewhere close by to give us their experience on child justice. The question was modeled on child justice, so they'll give us their experience. From this, we work together with NCAJ to develop the question and make sure that it deals with a live case. There's some honorable mention that we would like to give, and these are people who displayed the greatest mooting potential during the preliminary rounds. So when you see Strathmore all over the news, we usually take time to train these students. So this is the training ground, the Cindy Wakio moot. Then from that, we've nominated them for moots that will happen next year, and training begins next week for moots that are going to be 8 months away, 6 months away, and we take time to train them for that. We have Kitonga Mulandi from Team 1. You may come to the front. You may come to the front. We have Albert Wangai from the same team. We have Fiona Mwaura from Team 37. We have Annette Kanyugo from Team 5. And we have Amelia Midwa from Team 5. So these are the students who showed the greatest potential, and definitely in some of the moots that we'll do, ICC moot, Nuremberg moot, Jessup, John Pictet, they'll be nominated for some of these competitions to represent the school. Thank you so much. I'll now just give 2 minutes to Wangari and Mark to give us their experience. This is a Child Justice Summit, and this was a moot that they participated in. What was their experience defending the government on one side and defending the child on the other side? So let's hear from them, 2 minutes each.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Wangari Kamau. So for the Cindy Wakio moot, in general, for us, it was a very informative experience. Before researching, I can say going in, we knew very little about child justice. I think the view that we had, at least the view that I personally had, and the view that most ordinary people would have is that, you know, there's just children who are juveniles and that's just it. But coming out of this experience, it's really one thing to just accept and label these category of children as juveniles, as child offenders. And it's another to be able to view these children in the context of their circumstances, seeing them first as individuals, as children, and in the environment, and how this results in conflict with the law. I would say it's this general lack of having seen this other side, not having viewed these children from this other perspective that is perhaps at the core of the challenges children face when in conflict with the law, and why it becomes difficult to address these challenges. On the one hand, we have what's in the law, what is ideally supposed to happen, and what we're seeking to achieve. And on the other hand, what actually happens. And the difference lies in systematic institutional gaps, which are due to this lack of an informed and sensitized contextual view. As a lot of people have probably said, we definitely think, and this experience has showed us, that within the existing systems, there's a lot of ways for children to fall through the cracks, and there's definitely a need for the review of how children are handled. And it should be in a way that is informed by compassion. So in summation, I can say that you definitely gain new perspective on the issue. It's an avenue to advance social justice in Kenya, and it will be interesting to have the opportunity to continue these conversations and to learn more about this topic going in the Wakili wa Watoto clubs. Thank you.
All protocols observed. Good afternoon. As you've heard, my name is Mark Gitao, and since I want to be concise, I will not read everything that I had prepared to say, but I would like first of all to say that the moot court competition is a very informative process, and the journey has been extremely fundamental in my jurisprudence of children justice. And I would like to say that, as my co-counsel has said, I refer to her now as co-counsel, where before we began this moot, I really didn't know a lot about child justice, and I didn't know such things happen to children even in our own republic. When you read the cases as you research for these moots, you get to see another side of the experiences of children in our child justice system. And it is very touching when you are the petitioner to defend such a child as counsel for Wakili wa Watoto. But on the other side, you get to be a respondent in the moot. And this was a constitutional petition, and you are the one saying, defending the state, this petition is frivolous, vexatious, an abuse of court process. And you know very well that the child's rights have been violated and infringed, and it's still part of the moot experience. So I would generally like to say that it has been informative and that I have learned a lot. And my call to everyone is that we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. A transformative constitution was birthed in our country to give life to these rights that children are now failing to have meaning conferred to them. And so it is our duty to have them conferred to them as lawyers, as non-governmental organizations that I've seen present here, panelists who are here, students of law who are here. In our legal journey, we may not be perfect in defending the rights of the child, but let us wake up every day and try, just try in your own little way to defend a child, to be their sword, to be their shield. And that in itself, I think, is perfection. It was an honor to win the 4th Cindy Wakio Moot Court. And I must say that my journey does not stop there. My business is in the world and to defend children in our republic. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Mark. You know, Paul in the Bible says, is it Paul? You plant a seed, someone else waters it, and someone else harvests. We have planted the seed. We are waiting for the people who will water the same. Thank you so much. That said, I must mention that we'll now make the Child Justice Moot Competition an annual competition that will involve all 17 law schools in Kenya. And that is our commitment as a law school, that we shall always make sure that the avenue to educate and to make sure that children rights and child justice is our business as well. And the law clinic as well is also involved in that, where we also are in the process of beginning to undertake pro bono matters. We are in discussions with the ODPP to see if we, at the law school, where advocates like myself, Patrick, the dean, and others can be involved in pro bono matters, especially to assist children. Because as Justice Kibosia will speak, on Justice Kibosia, I will retain it as such, and Justice Madheka, they will tell you that they are devoid of lawyers who practice in children matters, and it's good that we step in the gap. That said, we would like to give the gifts to the various speakers who've been here over the last 2 days. And my colleague Stanley will get a microphone, so he will call some names. And as your name is called, please come in that order. And then Dr. Wathuta and Dr. Kwenjera will be giving the gifts to our various speakers. So Stanley, kazi kwako.
Good afternoon. Just before we award our presenters, I would like to say a few things, just an intro. When all is said and done, Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you desire to see. I'm sure for most of us in so many ways, this Child Justice Summit has been amazing. We've been motivated, we've been inspired, and we've been given the necessary nudge, I believe, to go out here and to advocate for the rights of our children. No amount of words can explain or can possibly surmise to show our gratitude to our presenters for the motivating words, for inspiring our students, and for telling us it is possible and that we are the right people to go out here and to advocate for the rights of our children. So I would go ahead and I think we would go ahead and give our speakers, and I will start with speakers and everyone who's been part of the process and who's made this possible. So we'll start from our wonderful MCs, Masters of Ceremony, who've been with us through day one and have done an excellent and an amazing job. So I would start with Nicole Mutunga, and I would like to welcome Dr. Wathuta to come and... Okay, so I'm told she's gone. We would go next to Philip Ogondi, our fellow Master of Ceremony. So Dr. Wathuta could come and award. Thank you. And next we have Anita Wambui, and we would welcome the Dean to come and congratulate Anita Wambui. Thank you. And then we have Thomas Joseph from LSK. KSL, sorry. Oh, sorry. From KSL, yeah. Thank you. And our own Dr. Jennifer Gitahi. Next, we have Caroline Tai. So, as on, yes, Caroline. Yeah? And then next we'll have Elizabeth Njambi as our next presenter to be awarded. Then we'll have Linda Ndambiri next. Then we'll have Patrick Washira. Lawrence Okoth. Samuel Munyuin. Samuel Munyuin, yeah. He kindly reminded us it's not a nickname, so yeah, it's a good name. Then we have Mary Wangele. Mary Wangele. Then we'll have Patricia Kirugu. Anne Tiongo. Robert Kibor. Then next we have Florence Omundi. Florence Omundi. Now we'll have Honorable Peter Mulwa. Okay, so he stepped out, so we'll go to Honorable Jackie Kibosia. And then we have Honorable Justice Lucy Gitari. Finally, we'll be honored to have Honorable Lady Justice Matheka. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stanley. We now move to the last session, which are closing remarks. This is just from 3 key people, just to share what they experienced through the summit over the last 2 days, and maybe the dreams and plans for the future for this summit. So we'll begin with the National Laid Eagle Service, represented by the Vice Chairperson, Robert Kibor.
Thank you very much, moderator, for giving me this opportunity. Allow me to start by appreciating the organizers of this particular forum. My name is Robert Kibor. I'm the Vice Chair of the National Legal Aid Service Board. And I was not part of this engagement yesterday, but Patricia from my office and Grace represented us. I think mine is straight to the subject matter, which is closing remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, law students, good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to be here today as we continue the discussion on child rights advocacy. I think it's a great honor to get an opportunity of addressing law students